The graduation ceremony was a moment of pride and joy for everyone present. The hall was filled with the laughter and chatter of proud parents, eager friends, and excited families. The energy in the room was high as the young graduates stood on stage, receiving their diplomas. But amidst the joy, there stood Sergeant Marcus Williams, a Marine in full dress blues, at the back of the room. His heart swelled with pride as he watched his son walk across the stage. This was the moment he had been waiting for. His son, the one he had sacrificed so much for, was finally succeeding. Marcus didn't need to be the center of attention. He was content standing quietly in the back, watching his son, knowing this moment was his victory as much as his son's. But then, without warning, 2 security guards approached Marcus. "Excuse me, sir," one of the guards said, voice firm. Marcus turned, confused. "What's the matter?" "We need you to step outside, sir. You're causing a disturbance," the second guard insisted. Marcus' brow furrowed. "Disturbance? I'm here for my son. What's the issue?" The guards exchanged a glance. Then one reached out, grabbing Marcus by the arm. "I'm not going anywhere," Marcus said, his voice calm but firm. The room was still, the energy suddenly shifting. Marcus was a Marine. His entire life had been about service, about fighting for what was right no matter the cost. But now here he stood, being told to leave a moment that should have been his by right. This was more than just a graduation ceremony. This was a fight for his dignity, his place, and the value of his presence. The guards tried to pull him away, but Marcus stood his ground, his posture unwavering. The crowd, sensing the tension, fell silent. Eyes turned to the back of the room, where this Marine stood, resolute and calm. Without warning, a group of 6 men emerged from the back of the hall. They moved in unison, their steps sure and deliberate, as if they had been waiting for this very moment. These men weren't just any men. They were Navy SEALs, warriors who had seen the darkest parts of the world and had survived it. They were not here for drama or confrontation. They were here to ensure one thing: justice. One of the SEALs stepped forward, his eyes cold and focused. "You need to let go of him." The guards froze. They were unprepared for this. These weren't just any ordinary guests. These were highly trained professionals. The room was still. No one dared to move. "You're not taking him," another SEAL added, his tone unwavering. The guards hesitated. The tension was so thick you could feel it in the air. For a moment, the entire room held its breath. The security guards were now out of their depth. They were no longer in control. Marcus, feeling the weight of the situation, said simply, "I'm here for my son. No one is taking me away." The SEALs formed a protective barrier around Marcus, their presence like a wall. They didn't need to say much more. Their body language spoke volumes. They were here to ensure that Marcus would not be removed. The guards tried to regain control, but it was clear they were outmatched. One of them muttered, "You're making a scene." Marcus replied, his voice steady, "I'm not making a scene. You are." The room had become a battleground, not of fists but of power. And in this fight Marcus knew he had already won. The 6 SEALs around him were not just protecting him. They were symbolizing something much larger. They represented the fight that Marcus had been in all his life. The fight for respect, the fight for fairness, and the fight for his place in this world. With a final reluctant step back, the guards stood down. The tension began to lift, but the undercurrent of power remained. The SEALs slowly retreated, leaving Marcus standing tall and calm, unshaken. The crowd's murmurs shifted into soft applause. Marcus turned back towards the stage. His eyes now focused on the young man who had just earned his diploma. His son. Marcus watched his son, the young man he had raised, the boy who had been through so much, standing proudly at the front. As the applause swelled, Marcus felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The noise around him faded into the background. This moment, the culmination of years of hard work, sacrifice, and love, was everything he had fought for, not just as a Marine but as a father. The world may have tried to take this moment from him, but here he was. He had been told to leave, to step aside. He had been disrespected and forced into a fight. But in the end he had stood tall. He hadn't backed down. And now, his son was standing where Marcus had always hoped he would. For Marcus, this wasn't just about getting through this moment. It was about making sure his son never had to face the same battles he did. It was about ensuring that his son would know how to stand up for what's right. As the ceremony came to a close, Marcus reflected on everything he had gone through in his life. The struggles, the sacrifices, the battles, both on the battlefield and in the streets of his community. But today it wasn't about him. It was about his son, the next generation. His son had succeeded not just because of his own efforts, but because Marcus had taught him the value of standing tall, the importance of fighting for what was right, and the courage to never back down. The ceremony ended, but the crowd's respect for Marcus did not. The seals, though silent, watched him with a kind of reverence. They knew what it had taken for Marcus to be here. Not just as a father but as a man who had fought for his dignity and his place in the world. As Marcus and his son walked out of the hall together, arm in arm, he knew this moment, this victory, wasn't just for him. It was for everyone who had ever been told they didn't belong, for everyone who had fought for their right to be heard. Outside, the media was already waiting, microphones and cameras in hand, eager for a story. But Marcus didn't care about the attention. He had his son by his side, and that was enough. He had fought for respect. He had fought for his moment. And in the end he had won. The truth had been heard. The fight had been fought. And now the legacy was complete. This script, spread across 5 parts, builds tension, introduces conflict, and delivers an emotional and impactful resolution. The pacing keeps the audience engaged, gradually building from the initial confrontation to the final victory, creating a sense of empowerment throughout the narrative. This story made you pause, made you feel something real. Then don't let that feeling stop here. 'Cause stories like this, they aren't just about characters. They're about us, what we believe, what we assume, and what we choose to remember. We didn't share this just to entertain you. We shared this to remind the world of something we keep forgetting. Respect matters. Truth matters. And silence is not weakness. Sometimes the quietest people hold the loudest stories. The ones who've been hurt the most often carry the most strength. They don't need applause. They don't need revenge. They just need someone to finally see them, to see past the labels, to hear the silence behind their eyes, to say, "I believe you. I see you." Because when someone has been overlooked their whole life, that one moment of recognition can feel like justice. And for those who laugh too soon, judge too fast, look down instead of leaning in, let this story be a mirror. The man in cuffs wasn't broken. He was built differently, stronger, quieter, and far more powerful than they ever imagined. and the truth he carried. It didn't need a courtroom. It didn't need permission. Just needed time. Because truth doesn't chase applause. Wait. And when the world is finally quiet enough to listen, speaks. So if this story reached something in you, share it. Not for the views. Not for the likes. But because someone else somewhere needs to feel what you just felt. Maybe they've been misjudged. Maybe they're hiding their truth behind silence. Maybe they're standing on the edge, wondering if anyone will ever look past the surface. Let this video be the hand that reaches them. Let it be the moment they realize they're not alone. Their story still matters. And what's true will always find its way home. We're not just here to tell stories. We're here to rewrite what the world thinks it knows. To honor those who stay silent until it matters most. So if you're still here, thank you. You're the reason we do this. You're the kind of person this world needs more of. Someone who listens. Someone who sees. Now take that heart and carry this forward. Because change doesn't start with noise. Starts with moments like this. Subscribe for more stories that challenge what we assume. That lift the veil on hidden truth. That remind us. One story. One moment of truth. Can shift everything. And sometimes, the one they laughed at was the one who held all the power. Oolong. As the screen fades to black. Remember this. Silence isn't empty. It's full of the things we never dared to say. And when it finally speaks, the world listens. If this story made you think, share it. Let someone else feel what you felt. We're not just here to tell stories. We're here to remind the world. Respect matters. And truth always finds its way. Subscribe for more stories that challenge what we assume. And honor those who stay silent until it matters most.